Good afternoon to all the students. So in the last class, we have completed the concepts of queues. We have seen various applications of queues like round robin scheduling, priority queues, job scheduling, all these things we have discussed, right? And we have already discussed what is the need for going to the circular queues, even though we have the concept of linear queues. May I know the reason? What is the disadvantage of linear queues we have?
Sir, if any elements are reviewed from the queue, then it is not possible to.
False overflow condition, sir. False overflow.
Yeah, that is called as false overflow condition. So due to false overflow condition, we are unable to insert new elements even though we have the vacant locations at the front part of the queue because of the condition we have. So for that purpose, to overcome that disadvantage, we have gone through another concept called as wrapping around configuration, where we will be using this configuration in case of circular linked list, circular queues. Right? So what we will do in today's session is we will start the linked list concept. We will go through the introduction part of the linked list, and one particular day or in one particular class, I will take the programming part related to linear linked list as well as the circular queue. And if time permits, we will also discuss the programming part related to circular linked list and doubly linked list. And if time permits only, right? Otherwise, I'm going to discuss the programming part related to linear linked list as well as the circular queues. We'll see the difference. So don't worry about the programming part right now. Try to concentrate on the theoretical part where we'll be discussing the theory and how we need to practice all these things. And every point is important. And this linked list concept is a very, very important concept. As I told in the earlier classes also, that whenever you are trying for a job in a software industry, and if it is a product-based company, not like that service-based companies, it is a product-based companies, and if you say them, if you say the recruiter that you know something about the data structure, then the first point they are going to concentrate is on the linked list. So that is the importance of the linked list. So you please concentrate and you try to write the programs on your own. I will explain you how to track this program. I will explain the meaning of each and every statement in the single linked list program. So by taking the inputs from that program, you have to develop yourself and you have to inculcate the knowledge of programming by yourself, and you try to write the programs related to other linked lists, like circular linked list and doubly linked list. Is it right? Is it okay for you?
Yes. Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So coming to the
Okay,
linked list, what do you understand? You can simply call it as lists also. So what do you understand by the term list, linked list? What do you understand by the term?
Lists that are linked to each other.
Super. Those are the list of items that are linked to each other. Very good. But that definition you should not give, as I told that this is for the understanding purpose only. You should tell that these are lists or nothing but what are lists. If somebody asks you what are lists, these are nothing but collection of nodes. In the computer science point of view, in the data structures point of view, we should say that lists are the collection of nodes. We'll see what a node is and how we have to divide the node into different parts depending upon the application. All these things we will discuss. But at the present point of time, it is very important that you should know what a list is. A list is nothing but a collection of nodes where each and every node is connected to every other node. Not every other node, each node is connected to another node. Right? How we are going to connect and how we are going to link one node with the other node, all these things will discuss. Okay. So for this particular point of time, you just remember that lists are nothing but collection of nodes. So we hear this list concept everywhere in the real life also. Right? For example, if you go to the market, you will be given a list of items or a list of grocery items that you need to bring from the market. Like that, you come across the list. Lists are nothing but the item. Right? So, for example, in every day you will come across the list of grocery items, the list of shopping items. But these lists are something different in the computer science. In computer science, the list we call it as the collection of nodes. The collection of nodes. We have different operations that can be performed on this list, but addition of an item into the list and the deletion of an item from the list is very important. Very important concept. Right? We have a lot of programs that are related to adding an item to the list and deleting an item from the list. Again, we have three types in the addition. Addition at the front, addition at the middle, addition at the end. Similarly, deletion can also be done at the front part or at any desired location or at the end of the linked list. Okay. So this programming part I will discuss, don't worry, I will discuss in the end. So we have many operations other than this. You can traverse the list. Traversing means you just visit the node, each and every node. Okay. And you do whatever operation you want to perform. For example, if I visit a node, I wish to print that node. Or else, you can write a program where you visit the node, you add 2 to that particular, you add some x value to that node value, and then you print. Like that, traversing is nothing but visiting each and every node only once. So only once visiting is called as traversing. Like that, we have number of operations, but out of which adding an item to the list and deleting an item from the list is very important. Right. So this is how we come across the list terminology in our daily life or in the real life. And we are discussing some of the operations which are very important for the lists. Right. So here is the definition of the linked list. Right. Here we are discussing the concept of singly linked list. We'll see what this singly linked list. So a singly linked list is a dynamic data structure. Can anybody tell me what do you mean by data structure?
Physical implementation of abstract data type is data structures.
The physical implementation of ADT is called as data structure. Any other definition? That is okay, but I want some other definition.
How we implement data in our
Organization of
programs in
data
our
in
labs.
It's not how we implement, it is how we organize the data in the main. So how we are going to organize the data inside the memory, how we are going to store, how we are going to retrieve the data. All these things are nothing but organization. So how we organize the data in the main memory is termed as the data. So it is a dynamic data structure. Till now we have seen different data structures. For example, what is the data structure we have seen? Arrays. Arrays is a data structure, right? It comes under linear data. Similarly, stacks, they also come under the category of linear data. Queues, they also come under the category of linear data. So other category of data structure that we need to discuss under the linear data structure is the linked list. But in the first class itself, while we are discussing the classification of data structures, I have mentioned you clearly that this data structure, that means the linked list data structure, cannot be categorized as the linear data. We say that it is neither a linear data structure nor a non-linear data. But since we need to categorize the data structures into any one of the categories, either as a linear or non-linear, we categorize this linked list as the linear data structure. We'll see within few minutes. We'll see why it is not treated as a linear data structure and why it cannot be treated as a nonlinear data. Is it clear? So other than this, we have
Yes.
the nonlinear data structure where the operations are not performed in a sequential fashion, such as trees and graphs. So after this linked list and hashing part, we will go and discuss the trees part. I don't know why the syllabus, why the people has removed the graphs concept from the data structure. Otherwise, you might have studied previously. We used to have the graph concept also, where we used to study various graph algorithms, minimum spanning tree algorithms. All these things we have studied, right? But they have removed the graph concept from your data structure syllabus. Okay, forget about all these things, but remember that the two data structures that come under the category of nonlinear data structures are trees and graphs. And coming back to our discussion again, a singly linked list is treated as a dynamic data structure. Till now, the arrays, stacks and queues, where you are implementing the stacks and queues using arrays, they follow the static memory allocation. They follow the static memory. That means the user has to specify the size of the array before doing the program. The start of the program itself, they have to specify the number of elements they want to use in the program. That is called a static memory allocation. We have a long discussion in the classroom also, the difference between the static and dynamic. So static memory allocation does not make use of any functions, but the dynamic memory allocation makes use of the dynamic memory allocation functions such as malloc, cloc, realloc. So what is the allocation? Can anybody please respond? What is the disadvantage of
Please
static
repeat
memory?
again.
What is the disadvantage of static memory allocation?
We
It cannot be
sometimes
changed in,
besides, memory gets wasted.
It cannot be changed in dynamic ways.
Right. So the memory gets wasted in the static memory allocation. Right. It's not in all the cases, but for example, assume that you have allocated a memory of 50, memory for 50 integer elements, but in the programming part, 30 elements. So the memory that is allocated for the remaining 30 elements will go waste. So in order to avoid the wastage of memory, and in order to allow the programmer to change the memory dynamically, you allow the programmer to change the memory, or that means to increase the memory or to decrease the memory. So these type of changes in the memory allocation, and to save the memory, wastage of memory, we can go for the dynamic memory. So the linked list is a very important data set. Very, very. Why? Because we make use of the dynamic data. The memory linked list will be allocated dynamically. When you make use of the dynamic memory allocation, we have a lot of advantages like what we have discussed. Like we have we will save a lot of memory without wastage, and we allow the programmer to increase or decrease the size during the runtime. That is the meaning, that is the advantage we get from the dynamic memory. So dynamic data structure consisting of a sequence of nodes. We can also call it as a collection of nodes. We'll see what these nodes are, don't worry. And they form a linear ordering. So that's why we call this linked list, or we categorize this linked list under the linear data. Simple thing. Don't worry about the definition and everything. A singly linked list is nothing but a dynamic data structure consisting of a collection of nodes, and they follow a linear order. That's it. So we'll see what this node is. In the C programming, while we are discussing the concept of structures, we might have discussed the concept of self-referential structure. Right? Can anybody tell me what is a self-referential structure?
If a structure calls
It is a
itself, it's
type
called
of-
a self.
No, it is not the concept of calling, right? Remember carefully, the concept of calling should be used only with the functions one. Function
Okay, sir.
calling. You cannot say structure calling. So be careful with the terminology.
Sir, when
Right?
it refers to itself, sir.
It
So
refers to
a
itself.
self-referential structure. The name itself is saying that the structure is referring to itself. That is called as a self-referential. So in case of single linked list, we say that it is a collection of nodes where node is nothing but a self-referential structure. So if somebody asks you how do we implement nodes in the linked list, we implement the nodes referential structure. We use the concept of self-referential. So each node, I'm saying that the linked list is a collection of nodes, and each node is nothing but a collection of element and reference. It's not the case that every time only one element. It's not the case that the node consists of only one reference. Reference is nothing but the address. So for example, if we consider the single linked list, we represent the single linked list as the collection of nodes where each node is divided into two parts. One part is called as the data part, and the other part we call it as the address part. We have a number of names. We call it as address or next part or the reference part. Anything is okay for it. But for our convenience, we will make use of this term. We will interchange these terms and we will utilize these terms randomly. Right? So, but the first part, what we are using is the data part. So, the data part represents the original data which you want to store inside the node. For example, I want to store an element 10. So, the element 10 should be stored inside the data part. For example, if somebody wants to use the node to store the characters, yes, it is active. So you can store a character A inside the data part. For example, if somebody wants to store the floating point value 13.57, yes, it is active. But whatever value you want to store, whether it is an integer, character, or decimal value, or it is a string, you have to store it inside the data part only. That is the reason why the data part specifies the original data or the original information which you want to store inside the node is represented with the data part. Now coming to the second part, this is the first part and this is the second part. Coming to the second part, where we are denoting it as the address part or the next part or the reference part. This particular part of the node is used to store the address of the next node. What is next node? I told you how to implement the node by using structure. Is it right or not? Are you able to listen to my voice?
Yes, sir.
So we implement the nodes using structure. So I'm saying that the second part of any node is called, or it is going to store the address of the next node. So what is the next node? It is nothing but a structure again. Again, this node is divided into the data part and the address part. And this address part is going to refer to the next node. That means it is going to store the address of the next node. Therefore, that node is also a structure. It consists of two parts. One is the data part and second one is the address part. Like that, this particular link will go on until we make the address part of the last node as null. Right, we'll see all these things, don't worry. Right. But at present point of time, at this point of time, you remember that a collection of nodes is called as a linked list, and a node is divided into two parts. A node is implemented using structures. A node is divided into two parts. The first part we call it as data, where we store the original data which you want to operate or which you want. Second part represents the address part, which stores the address of the next node. Next node is nothing but another. So this is how we are going to implement the node. And remember, it's a very important point that here this is the notation we are using for our understanding purpose. Never ever put your mind set to saying that each node consists of only one data part. Each node consists of only one address part. A node may consist of 2 or 3 data parts. A node may consist of 2 or 3 address parts. That depends upon the application which you are going to implement.
Sir, small doubt, sir. Are 3 data types same type avala, sir?
Maybe about at the maximum we don't go for the 3 data types. We'll be storing the data and then we may have 3 different addresses or 2 addresses. Right. We'll see.
Okay.
In the advanced trees concept, we'll discuss all this. Even trees are also linked lists are used to implement the trees. We'll see all this. Right. But one thing you should remember that the node is divided into number of parts. It's not the 2 parts. It can be divided into number of parts. Right. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So here is an example diagram to illustrate a singly linked list. We'll see what this singly linked list is in the coming class, in the coming slides. So how many nodes are there? This is one node, this is the second node, and this is third node. Like that, we have n number of nodes. You can observe here that each and every node in the singly linked list is divided into 2 parts. So every node is divided into the data part and the next part, where the next part stores the address of the next node. So the first node stores the address of the second node. The second node stores the address of the third node. Third node stores the address of the fourth node. The n-1th node stores the address of the nth node. And here you can observe what is this value?
Null, sir.
Null. So the address part of the last node should be null. This is very important, very important. Why? Because when you traverse the linked list, you should traverse until you come across a point where the address part of a particular node is null. So when the address part of a node is null, that indicates that is the last node of that particular link. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
For example, assume that this node is having a base address of 100. This node is having a base address of 200. This node is having a base address of 300. And this is some 1000. Let us assume. So what is the value that is stored here?
200, sir.
200. Why? Because I'm saying that every node is going to store the address of the next node. So this first node, which is located at 100 address, is going to store the address of the next node, which is having the base address of 200. So here you will store 200.
Can't hear your voice.
Is my voice clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now tell me what is the value that is stored at this location?
300, sir.
300, sir.
300. Okay. What is that it is stored in here? It is 400.
400.
Like that, right? Like that, n-1 node will store the address of 1000, which is nothing but the base address of this nth node. So we are storing the addresses of the nodes in its previous node. Thereby, we are creating a link from the first node to the second node, from the second node to the third node. Like that, you are creating the links. Therefore, these are called as links. Right. So what I have told about this list, the list is nothing but a collection of nodes. Is it right or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now we are connecting these collection of nodes with the links. Therefore, we name it as linked list. And why it is called a singly linked list means how many addresses you are storing here, or otherwise you can ask the question like this also. How many nodes one particular node is going to be linked with?
One, sir.
Single node.
Only
One, sir.
So if you take this node, it is going to get a link with the second node. If you take this node, it is going to have a link with the next node itself, right? So every node is going to be connected with only one link, single link. Therefore, these type of nodes are called as the collection of nodes which are linked with only single link to the next node are called as singly linked list. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now I
Yes,
have
sir.
stored the address of 200 inside the address part of node 1. What is the base address of node 1?
100, sir.
100, sir.
100. Now where I have to store this 100? That is the purpose of this head node. Right. So every linked list, you remember this important point, very important point. Every linked list, whether it is a singly linked list or circularly singly linked list or circularly doubly linked list or doubly linked list, whatever category of linked list it is, we should have a pointer that points to the first node of the linked list. At this example, in this example, how many nodes are there? I'm saying that we have n nodes. But you should identify the first node uniquely. You should identify the first node uniquely. So in order to identify the first node uniquely, you should store the address of the first node inside a pointer, which is called as the head pointer. This head is very important pointer, which is used in almost all the linked list nodes. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what head is going to store? It is going to store 100. For example, as I told that, remember that this is a singly linked list concept where each and every node is having a single link to the next node. That is the reason why we are calling it as a singly link. See here, in which direction we are having these links. So from first node to second node, from second node to third node, from third node to fourth node, and so on, from the n minus 1th node to n. So we are going in only one direction. Is it right or not? That means you can go in only one direction. If you have visited the first node, there is no way to go to a node before this first node. Or if you visit the third node, what is that? You have to go to the next node. What is the next node number? You are going to
Fourth
visit.
node, sir.
It is only 4, right? You cannot go to the previous node. Why? Because there is no link to the previous node. So the singly linked list traversal always takes place in one direction. That is from the left hand side. We cannot say it is left to right or right to left or top to bottom or bottom to up. Right? We have to say that singly linked list allows the user to traverse, not travel. It's a new terminology you have come across. Traversing means visiting each and every node only once is called as traverse. So singly linked list allows the programmers to traverse the linked list in only one direction. Why? Because we have only single link. So we will be traversing from the first node to second, second to third, like that. We will be traversing in a sequential order. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And one more important point is every operation that you perform, whether you want to perform the insertion or whether you want to perform the deletion or whether you want to perform the traversal, whatever operation you want to perform on the linked list, that should always start with the first node only. Random access is not possible in the linked list. That is the disadvantage we have. We will see the difference in the next slide. We will see the differences between the arrays and the linked list. Right. In that you will get a clear distinction between this arrays and linked list. But for the time being, you please remember that any operation you perform on the linked list, that should always start from which location?
First location.
That should always start with the first node only. And where do you get the address of the first node?
Head
Head
point.
closer.
Head, sir.
From the
Head
head.
point.
Therefore, It's very important that you never change the value of head point. You should never change the value of head point. For example, if I want to traverse and I want to make a point to the second node, you cannot directly point a pointer to the second node. So what you should do is you have to duplicate this head value and then you traverse it and then you have to do it, right? So one important point you should remember is never ever touch the value of the head. Right? That is the importance of head. Why? Because if you change the value of head, you will be missing what is the starting point of the linked list. So never ever touch the value of head. Is it clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, why we go for this linked list? We have arrays, stacks, queues, and graphs, trees. All these things are there. But why we are going to discuss more on this linked list means, if you remember the concept of stacks and queues while discussing, there's a question like, how do you implement the stack? In how many ways you can implement the stack?
By using arrays and linked lists.
Right. By using the arrays and linked list. Similarly, how do you implement queues?
Arrays and linked lists only, sir.
Arrays and linked list. Similarly, if you go for the implementation of trees or graphs or hash tables, every data structure, these are nothing but data structures, right? Stack is one data structure, queue is one data structure, graphs, hash tables, everything is a data structure. So in order to implement these data structures, we are going to use an important data structure. That means, see here the power of linked list. In order to implement one data structure, we are going to use another data structure, and linked list is suitable to implement any other data structure other than arrays. Okay. So you forget about arrays for the time being. So any data structure you take, stacks, queues, graphs, trees, hash tables, etc., anything you take, everything can be implemented by the linked list. That is the power of linked list. Right. So how did it get this power? Anybody? Can you please guess and give me a wild answer?
By storing the address of the next.
Maybe it's not the exact answer.
డైనమిక్ గా మెమరీ అలొకేట్ చేస్తుంది కాబట్టి చాలా ఎంత
Super.
memory address.
The main reason for the popularity of this linked list is they make use of the dynamic data structure. The dynamic memory application gives a lot of strength to the linked list. So any other data structure you take, you can simply blindly say that that particular data structure can be implemented using linked list. That's it. Okay. So that is the power of the linked list. So stacks, queues, graphs, hash tables, trees, or B plus trees, AVL trees, anything you can implement using the link. Similarly, as I told that the linked lists are also the components of some data structures like B plus trees, skip lists, or AVL trees, red black trees, play trees, anything can be implemented using linked. And Lisp is an important programming language in artificial intelligence, and it extensively uses the linked list in performing symbolic processing. Don't worry about all this symbolic processing, what is symbolic processing, all these things. But some of the important programming languages like Lisp and some other things, they make use of the linked list. And the memory management, you will come across the memory management concept in the operating systems concept in the next semester, I think. So in operating systems, we have a important task that is performed by the operating system, which is called as memory management. Can anybody tell me what you understand by this memory management?
How we manage the memory, sir.
Right. It is going to manage the memory. That means it is going to keep track of what memory locations are available, what memory locations are already occupied by the program. So if some process asks for the memory, the process is going to ask who is responsible for this memory management.
Operating system.
Operating system. So the operating system should keep track of all the vacant locations, all the memory locations, all the filled up locations. Everything has to be keep tracked by the operating system. And the operating system keeps track of this allocated memory by making use of this linked list only. Right. For example, at 100th location, we have a vacant cell. And at the 120th location, I have another vacant cell. How can the operating system identify that after 100, you need to go to 120? So it keeps track of this 100 location linked with the 120th location. So whenever the operating system requires a memory, vacant memory, so it will simply keep track of, it will simply traverse this linked list. So after 100, we have 120. Right? After 120, we have 250. Like that. So for implementing or for memory management concept, the operating system is going to use the linked list. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
It's like that we have number of applications. The applications we find in the data structure itself is a large application for this linked list. Called list components found in the GUI. So in order to develop this GUI, graphical user interfaces, we make use of this crawl list, right? That is the importance and the power of the linked list. We find a lot of applications in the computer science. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is the last slide we are going to discuss in today's class. Here is the differences between the arrays and linked list. It's very simple. You know everything, right? What is the category of arrays? Is it a linear or non-linear?
Linear data structure.
Linear, sir.
Linear data. And linked list, as I told that they can neither be treated as a linear or non-linear data structure, but basically we will consider this linked list as a linear data. Right? And is there any concept of indices in the array?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Starts with 0.
The array index starts with 0 and ends with n-1. That indexing concept is automatically given by the compiler itself. But here there is no concept of indexes. No indexes, nothing. So because of this indexing concept, it means the arrays allow the user to access the elements randomly. Is it right or not? So if I want to access the fifth element, what should I write? Assume that the name
A of 4.
A of 4, sir.
we should write it as A of 4. So the indexing concept allows the user to randomly access the elements from the array. But since there is no concept of indexing in the linked list, it won't allow the user or it won't allow the programmer to access the linked list in a sequential, in a random fashion. You always need to go in a sequential fashion. As I told in the previous slide itself, so every operation that you want to perform on the linked list should always start with the first element. Is it right or not?
Yes, sir.
And
Sir.
everything you want to process or whenever you want to traverse or any operation you want to perform, you should do it in a sequential fashion, no random access. If somebody asks you write a program to access the fifth node, random access is not at all possible in the linked list. If I want to access the fifth node, what I have to do?
How to start from first node.
Start with the first
You
node.
have to start from the first node. Then start a counter with 1. So if it is not equal, you go to the second node, increment the counter like that. Whenever you reach the counter is equal to 5, then that particular value is called the value of the fifth node. This is how you can do. That means everything should start with, you should start with the first node and you should go it in the sequential fashion only. No random access. That is the, actually we can say it is one of the disadvantages of this linked list, right? And coming to the elements, very, very important. Here comes the understanding why these linked lists are not considered as the linear data. So how elements are stored inside the arrays?
Consecutive memory locations.
Consecutive memory locations.
The contiguous memory location. The definition of the array itself says that it is a collection of elements of similar data types which are stored inside the contiguous memory location. Which are stored in the contiguous memory location. But remember, the linked list need not be contiguous in nature. That means, for example, in the previous example also we have seen here. What is the base address of the first node?
100, sir.
What is the base address of the second node?
200, sir.
200.
Right. So after this is just for understanding purpose, right? What is the base address of 300 third node? It is 300. So you can
300.
observe here that I am giving a random value to the addresses of each and every node, even though they are linked to each other. Right. So first node is at 100, second node is at 200, third node is at 300. Are they in the sequential manner?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Sequential means 100 after 101. 101, we get 102 like that. Right. Or else 100. After 100, we should access 105 element. Like that, the linked list does not follow the sequential memory allocation. Very, very important. Okay. So now tell me, can we call the linked list as the linear data structure?
No, sir.
No.
Based on this concept, no, sir.
According to the memory allocation, actually the definition of linear data structure says that the allocation of memory as well as the accessing of elements should be in the sequential fashion. Such type of data structures are called as the linear data structure. But here the memory allocation is not done in a sequential fashion. This is the reason why they does not come under the category of linear data. So they follow the non-linearity in the memory allocation. So non-linearity in the case of memory allocation. Can you see this annotation? Memory allocation.
Yes, sir.
Right. But listen. So after accessing the first node, am I accessing the second node or not?
Yes,
Forget
sir.
about where
Yes,
it
sir.
is stored. Forget about where the node is stored. But after the first node, you start traversing the given list. When you access the first node, you are going to access the second node, which is located at 200. After accessing the second node, you are going to access the third node, which is located at 300. So accessing point of view, it is sequential in nature. So after first node, second node after it is third node. Third node, we are going to access the fourth node. So accessing point of view, it is following a linear fashion. But memory allocation point of view, it is following the non-linear data. So what is linear here?
Accessibility point of
Accessibility. So when you are accessing the elements, we are following the linear order. But when you are allocating the memory, we are not following the linear. So I think now you are clear about why these linked lists are neither linear nor non-linear. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And tell me, the main reason why we go for this linked list is one is the dynamic data structure, and the second one is these 2 points. Insertion and deletion are very easy operations in the linked list. Is my voice clear?
Yes, sir. Very clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the main, if somebody asks you, somebody questions you like this, what is the main reason for going for the popularity of the linked list? Means the first point is linked lists are implemented using dynamic memory management. So dynamic memory management has a number of advantages when compared to that of the static memory allocation. This is the first point. Second and important point is operations such as the insertion and the deletion is a very, very easy operation in the linked list when compared to that of the arrays. How is it possible, sir? Insertion of an element inside the array itself is very easy. Right. So where do you insert the elements in the array? Where do you insert? For example, I have an array like this. I have 10, 20 like this. I want to insert 30. Where I can insert?
After 20, sir.
After 20. I want to insert 40. After 40. This insertion is very easy now, sir. Why you are saying that it is a complex operation in case of array? So here insertion of elements requires more time. Why we require more time? This is a simple insertion operation where we are not doing anything. We just take the element and insert it as the last element, right? But let us take a case here. Another example. Can you see this annotation here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, are these elements inside the array following the order or not? Ordered array. Is it an ordered array or not?
Ordered array, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now consider I want to insert the element 15. Where I have to insert?
After 60, sir.
No, this is an ordered array.
If you want that to be ordered, then
If you want to be that
sir.
order, 10 and 20, sir.
So we should follow the order. Therefore, whenever I want to insert the 15, I cannot insert it at the last location because the order should be maintained. So for this, in the similar case, we have seen in the insertion sort, right? So 15, where I should insert? 15 should be compared with the 60. Less than, go to 50, compare it 50. Less than, go to 40, compare it 40. Like that, I have identified that the correct position is this location. Right. So I have to create a space here. So in order to create a space, what you have to do? You have to move each and every element
Sir.
from that location to one position towards its right hand side. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So 60 will be moved to this location and 50 will be moved here and 40 here. This is 30 and this is 20 and now you insert at the 30.
Sir, ఇది insertion sort కదా, sir, not selection sort.
Insertion sort అన్నాను. Did I say it as selection
Okay.
sort?
No, sir.
No, I said it insertion sort. So this is how you insert an element at the middle of the array. So you need to create the space. In order to create the space, you have to move all the elements to the right hand side, one position towards the right hand. This itself takes a lot of time. It is a time consuming process. Similarly, deletion. And when we discuss the concept of arrays, have you ever seen an array which has an empty location in the middle?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Empty location means, for example, here I have 10, 20, 30, 40. Can I have an array like this? An empty location in between this 10 and 30?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
By definition itself, the array does not allow the vacant positions to be situated in the middle of the array. Can I have the vacant locations at the end of the array?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It is perfect.
sir.
Right. So if you take an array of size 10 and you have used only 5 elements, the remaining elements means the remaining last 5 elements are vacant positions. Not that you never think of an array which consists of the vacant locations in between the elements. That is completely ridiculous. Okay. So you should always think an array consisting of elements in a sequential fashion only. Right. For example, I have the elements like this 10, 20, 30, 40. If I want to delete an element, 40 is removed. That is what we know. Right. But if I want to delete a middle element, I want to remove 20. But after removing 20, there is a hole here. So you need to fill this hole. So for filling the hole, what you will do? You will move all the elements towards its left hand side, one position towards its left. So it involves a lot of movement operations. This is how you have to move. So deletion of elements also require more time. Why? Because you require to shift all the elements in order to fill the hole which is created by deleting the element from the middle of the array. So the insertion and deletion is a tedious task inside the array. But insertion and deletion operation is very easy process in the linked list. We'll see how it is easy. Not that easy, but when compared to that of arrays of which involves a lot of movements, that means nothing but an operation, right? So thereby we are increasing the, what is that? We call it as time complexity. We are increasing a lot of time complexity in insertion and deletion using arrays. Why? Because we need to move a lot of elements either to the right hand side or left hand. But the insertion and deletion is a very easy process in the linked list. We'll see all this. But for time being, as I told that, only two important points you should remember for the popularity of the linked list. One is the dynamic memory management concept. It is going to implement for the linked list implementation, and the insertion and deletion operations are very easy. Very important point. And since arrays follows the static memory allocation, when the memory will be allocated, is it at compile time or runtime?
Compile times.
Compile time.
Static memory allocation means the allocation of memory at the compile. And coming to the linked list, the memory is allocated at the runtime. Since they follow the dynamic memory management and they make use of such as MLOP, CLOP, VLOP, and delete, free, not delete. So it is the memory is allocated at runtime. And as I told that arrays make use of static memory allocation. And tell me who is responsible for static memory allocation?
Programmer.
Not the programmer. Programmer doesn't bother about anything. Who is going to take care of memory allocation and deallocation in the static memory? I have discussed it in the class. Right. For example, if I say int a, and after this function, I'm just closing it with a semicolon, curly braces. So when I say int a, who is going to allocate the memory?
Compiler, sir.
Proper compiler. So when I come out of this function, who is going to deallocate the memory?
Compiler.
Compiler, sir.
Compiler itself, right? So the allocation and deallocation of memory in the static memory allocation is taken care by the compiler. The user has, the programmer does not have any responsibility of allocation and deallocation. He simply say a statement that int a, or he simply says that int a of 4. Therefore, the allocation of 4 into 4, 16 bytes of memory will be allocated by the compiler. So once the programmer comes out of the function or the program, the memory should be deallocated. That is also taken care by the compiler. Right? So in the static memory allocation, programmer does not have any responsibility. He is free to use. Right? So everything is taken care by the compiler. But in case of dynamic memory allocation, who is responsible for allocating the memory? Even though it is compiler only, but
Operating systems.
no, you should give the statements. As a programmer, you should use the function malloc. So in order to allocate the memory, you use the malloc function. So when you come out of the function, it is your responsibility, it is the programmer's responsibility that you should free that memory which is allocated using malloc and cl. Right. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So in the dynamic memory allocation, who is having the more greater responsibility? Is it the compiler or programmer?
Programmers.
Programmers.
Programmer has to take care of everything. He has to take care of allocation of memory using malloc, cloc, and reloc. And while he moves out of the program or function, he has to take care of deallocation of memory using free function. This is what the dynamic memory allocation. Right. The last point. No memory wastage if the array is full or almost full. Otherwise may result in memory wastage. Right. As I told that if I take the array size as 10, if I make use of 10 elements, then there is no wastage of memory. If I make use of 9 elements, okay, there is wastage of memory for only one element, almost full. If I make use of 8 elements, that means the array is almost full. There is not much wastage of memory. But if I use only 2 elements or 4 elements, right, in such case, there is lot of wastage of memory that happens in the arrays. But in linked list, since you are making use of the dynamic memory allocation, whatever memory you require, you can allocate that memory. Whatever memory you doesn't require, there is no need to worry about the memory which is not required. Right. But listen carefully. Extra storage is needed for the references. Right. However, it uses exactly as much memory as it needs. So when in case of this dynamic memory allocation, you will be using exactly what memory you want. That is the advantage we have with the dynamic memory allocation. But in static memory allocation, there may be wastage of memory. But reason, what is this extra storage needed? For example, listen carefully. Let us compare this array and linked list. For example, I want to store 4 elements. Want to store 4 elements. So what is the size of the array I should declare?
4, sir.
4. What is the total size of that is allocated?
4 into 4, sir. Data type into.
4 into 4, that is 16 bytes. Now let us take the linked list concept. I want to store 4 elements 10, 20, 30 and 40. Now tell me how many nodes are required?
4 nodes.
4 nodes, sir.
Sir.
4. Right. To store one element, I require 1 node. Therefore, this is 1 node, second node, this is third node, and this is fourth node. Right. I store 10 here, I store 20 here, and 30 here, and 40 here. And I give the links like this is now. Now tell me, what is the memory that is totally required for each and every node?
8 bytes.
8 bytes. Why? Because this is going to store the integer which occupies 4 bytes. And what is the address that it is going to store? It is going to store the address of a structure. So now tell me, what is the address of a pointer? What is the size of a pointer? What is the size of a pointer?
4 bytes, sir.
Int, sir.
What is the size of an integer pointer?
Size of
Sir, any pointer 4 bytes,
Any
sir.
pointer.
Ade.
Okay, right. Any pointer, since it stores the address only, we are going to allocate the 4 bytes of memory, and it also depends on the compiler, right? So assume that it occupies 4 bytes. So how many bytes total is required for one node? It is 4 plus 4, that is equal to 8 bytes. So for 4 nodes, how much memory? 4 into 8,
32 bytes.
32 bytes. So as you can see, if we are going to use the arrays, we are just storing the 4 elements using 16 bytes. But if you are making use of linked list, you need 32 bytes. That is the reason why we require some extra storage space in order to store the addresses of the next node. Okay. So extra space is required for the link. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is the end of today's session. Thank you one and all. Hope you have learned new concepts in this class.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you one and all. You can leave.
Thank you, sir.
Just allow me to take the attendance.